Hey, you guys, what's up? Latricia Morris here, the brand Revivalist and owner of Vox and Iron. I know it's been a minute since I've been here on my YouTube channel, putting things out on the podcast. As you may have noted or seen on the sidelines, there has been a lot at play. There's been new camera equipment and studio equipment coming in here, some revamp going on in the space behind me, as well as taking several other big projects to launch. I am so excited for all that is coming about, but I really felt like today it was time to get back in it, hit that record button, and hit on some conversation that's a deep conversation we probably don't talk about enough when it comes to Christian entrepreneurship and building a kingdom business. Now, as we go into today, mind you that I mean it more as like a heads up. Like, don't be surprised when you see these things happen. I am not at all looking to scare anybody away from being a kingdom entrepreneur. I seriously would not trade it for the world. That being said, I think there are a lot of people that carry an incredible vision. Some of you may have had one person or many people speak a word of blessing over you, saying, God has given you this business. He's opening doors and all of these amazing things. And that's great. I think sometimes, though, when we see that part of it, we can be very quick and eager to give it our yes without realizing what we're actually signing up for. Now, if God is opening up that opportunity and calling you into Christian entrepreneurship, don't second guess it a bit. Give him that yes and go all in. I think it can be helpful, though, as we step into it, to understand that there are going to be challenges. There are going to be hardships. There are going to be seasons that you walk through that look nothing like what you envisioned. And that's perfectly normal, especially for those of you who are marked and called to do incredible things. Do not be surprised when the war pops off and you have every reason bombarding you to just quit, lay it down, second guess yourself, and all of that. So there are three main things that I wanted to hit on today that you are likely to experience, if not once, many a times over in your journey as a Christian entrepreneur. And the first one, we're going to kind of ease into this, right? I want to start off with doubt. And when I talk about doubt, I'm not just talking about other people doubting you. I'm talking about you doubting yourself. Those are really, like, they both can work in tandem and very much against you. So as we talk about this, I'm going to say that I do hear a lot of people lean into that mantra of do it to prove them wrong and all of this. And if that is part of what is driving you, let me challenge you on what you're allowing to drive you. Like, if you are really pushing and working through the hard days and going all gas, no brakes and all this in an attempt to prove them wrong, I believe that what it's actually revealing is some underlying insecurity that you would do well to address. And this is me speaking from experience, where I've had to go through the process of like, why would I be so discouraged or moved or irritated at somebody else speaking their words of doubt or treating me with skepticism? People right now, in general, are bombarded by a lot of fake stuff, a lot of hype, and a lot of people that have all the talk and just can't walk it out. So you kind of can't blame them for being skeptical or a little pessimistic to begin with. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm not saying that they should feel that way about you. I'm just saying it's kind of not their fault. And a lot of times it's really not personal. Like, it's hurtful, I think, when it's somebody who's close to you and you think like, this person should see my potential. They should see my skills. They should see my talent, but they don't even see it in me. How am I supposed to see it in me? And I get where that can be a pitfall, but I also see that it's a trap. Okay. So if you're going off of this logic of do it to prove them wrong, I'm going to challenge you to really search inside yourself and ask why you're even entertaining it anyways. If I know somebody is saying something out of complete ignorance and it's not actually true, am I really going to dedicate my own life and energy and resources into proving them wrong? Or do I recognize that, you know, as much as I may love them, that's just something, they just don't see it, and that's okay. I can still love them. I don't need their validation. I don't need their approval. All I need is the validation and approval of the God who created me. Don't let other people's opinions or inability to see the gifts within you deter you from what it is that you know that you're being called into. The bigger challenge is when we wrestle with our own personal doubt, when we're like, I don't know. You might be questioning, did God really promise that thing? Especially when you're in a season where things feel very long and very hard and they look nothing like you thought they should look like when you gave him that resounding yes to the call. Life will have a way of causing you to doubt yourself. It is important that you don't let it win. It is important that you maintain your sense of composure and confidence. And even when you feel like you can't have that confidence in yourself for whatever reason, still have the confidence in the God who made you and gave you the gifts that he gave you and put you on the path that he put you on. Because chances are good that it's in those moments that he's doing some of his biggest work, where you're going to have glory story on glory story that's going to come out of your life on the other side of yielding it to him. I recently did a video where I was talking about the one thing that should make you crazy uncomfortable is the idea of not allowing yourself in enough seasons that make you, or go through enough things that make you feel crazy uncomfortable. Why do I say that? Because if we are staying in a place where we feel like we can kind of manage it, are we really stepping into the big things where God gets to show what a big God he is in doing the things that we couldn't have possibly done for ourselves? So don't let doubt choke out your life energy. And when I talk about doubt, understand that this here is really something that goes in as part of number 2 that we're going to be talking about, which is warfare. Okay. So some of you guys know I am a martial arts freak. I absolutely love it. I've trained martial arts for several years. I've had the opportunity to compete, hold my black belt under one of the best in the world, one of the most amazing trainers. And I'm very, very blessed to have been on the journey that I've been in. Now, with that, I find it fascinating that one of the things that I learned early on, particularly when I was transitioning into fighting for competition, was understanding, and this applies to in general warfare, right? Is the importance of the priority when you first go in to face off with your opponent in stealing their courage. It's not who can get the first shot in, who can throw the hardest blow, the fastest, or whatever. Like you may have those factors come into play, but realistically, one of the first objectives is to take the courage of your opponent. Why is that? Because in our human wiring and our nature, the moment that we lose courage, we will operate at a lesser level. We will forget what we know. Many of the things that we have actively trained to do for years on years, maybe our entire lifetimes, it's easy in those moments where our courage just goes, especially under pressure, right? Where all of the stuff that we've trained in kind of like fades into this black oblivion, and we resort to very primal movements, very, very primal instincts and reactions instead of assessing what's going on and responding out of what we know, responding out of how we've trained. You have to understand that this is not a new tactic to the enemy. He wants you discouraged. He wants you to forget who you are. He wants you to forget what it is that you have trained to do, what it is that all those times that you sat in Bible study, all those times that you went through the business trainings and you did all the things to develop your skill, develop your technique, to become the expert and the professional that you are. He wants you to have the moment where you call all of that into doubt, because he knows that the moment you lose your courage, you're going to have a drag on your momentum. You're not going to operate with the same level of conviction. In other words, even when you're firing shots back, like they're not going to have anything on them, right? So when you have those moments of self-doubt, you will forget many of the things you know. You will fail to fire with conviction. You will tense up and you will gas out quicker. So you will move slower and you will deplete your capacity to stay in the game. All of these things happen the moment your courage goes out the door. So if you wonder why there have been so many things, so many circumstances, and so many thoughts that have been seeds of doubt that have been watered and nurtured and grown, maybe even for years, if not your entire life, let me tell you, my money is on that as being why. It's because the enemy wants you to think that you are less than who you are, that you are less than who your God has actually called and created you to be, so that you shrink back and play small, because he knows that what God has placed in your hands, he can't just walk up and snatch it out of your hands where God has said, this is yours. He can't say like, oh, this is mine. No. I get this. No. He wants you to forfeit the victory that your God has already promised you. He wants you to forfeit the victory that Jesus has already secured for you. My friend, do not let him win. Now, when we talk about warfare, I think we should unpack it a little bit further. Now, for some of you, God calls you to take the land. You go in, you just take the land. And those are great moments. That's a wonderful experience. God made the promise. I walked in. I got the promise. Hey, baby, I'm good. That's great. But I also know that for a lot of us, that ain't how it goes on a normal basis. It can go either way, season to season, right? But I feel like any entrepreneur that has been at it for more than a day has probably come to understand that going into business, there is a bit of warfare. And the reason why there's warfare is because God is not just equipping you and calling you to make money or to have a business and to create jobs. Like those are things, that's part of it, right? Like you're being gifted to multiply resources. But beyond that, God is calling you to take territory, okay? Take territory. You are being called to take territory for the kingdom. Now, when you're talking about taking territory, if you're looking out from far away, you're at a distance and you're looking at that land, from that distance, it could look beautiful. God, you're giving me that land. You're calling me to that place. You're giving me that business, that vision. Wow, that is awesome. And then we start moving towards it. Because at that distance, we didn't see the principalities that were looking to withhold or maintain that territory for themselves. So as we start to move toward it, that's when we might start seeing some of the fiery darts that are coming from the distance, where they're the warning shots trying to get us to walk away from it. And if we're being honest, we could probably see where there have been many people that were at some point walking alongside us in this journey of entrepreneurship that saw that and they started turning back. All right, now our numbers are getting fewer. But here you are, you're still marching forward because you're among the brave. You're not being disheartened. You're not losing courage. You're going to keep on pressing forward. So those fiery darts, they're coming. You use that shield of faith. You help you see that defended. You keep on moving. Maybe you might have gotten clipped or tagged with a few, but you're still pressing forward. And as you get closer, the battle picks up. Things start to get more intense. The warfare starts to pop off. The enemy starts resorting to different tactics as you get closer. In the middle of the night, he's coming in trying to raid your camp, trying to deplete and steal resources. He might be devouring them or burning them as a way of trying to starve you out. Maybe he resorts to tactics where he's coming in and it feels like you're just being attacked from every different side, from every different angle, so that you feel bombarded. And maybe he just left this one little section that looked like he was unguarded, and he was actually using it to feed you right into the trap. Maybe it was right into a trap of something that looks like opportunity. Maybe it's a trap of something that looks like a way out of the stress and the pressure. But if God has not called you to take that out, you might want to be second guessing things, right? Like, okay, I'm not gonna go off too far on that trail. I'm just gonna say, like, if you're in the middle of things feeling like they're bombarding you and you feel like you're surrounded on all sides and you see what looks like an easy out to just go ahead and get rid of the pressure and the pain and all that stuff, take it to God. Just pray about it, okay? I'm not saying that he's calling you necessarily to stay stuck, but pray about it. When it comes to warfare, there is a lot of it that can tax you from so many different ways, because ultimately, when we're bombarded by so much pressure, when it's coming against us in our health, when it's coming against us in our finances and our families and all of these other fronts, then it starts to inevitably take a toll on our mind and on our energy. It takes a toll on us spiritually. I think, talking about that, I was thinking about Elijah. Elijah comes to mind where, here he had just gone and had one of the most amazing mountaintop moments. We're still talking about it today. Like, yo, did you see what this guy did? How brazen would you have to be, even in our relatively safe culture here in the US, of going out into a public place and mocking the false gods of the people around you? Like, he literally put himself in a position where they're all around him. There were certainly a heck of a lot more of them than there were of him. And he's not just saying, okay, well, we'll put it out there and see whose God is bigger. He's like, yeah, he's making fun of him. Yell louder. Maybe your God's in the bathroom. Like, seriously? He was just putting it out there. And then he upped the ante to make sure that people knew that it was God that was moving in that situation. He didn't say, hey, God, how can we make this a little bit easier to pull off? He said, let me make it more complicated. And I'm not telling you make it more complicated for yourself, but just looking at Elijah, he said, let's up the ante and the stakes here. I'm going to show up and put myself in a situation where if God doesn't show up, I don't know what I'm going to do, right? So God shows up, takes up that offering, laps up the water and everything else around it. He just had, write that one down for history. Years of stories to be told. Fast forward, he's on the run. They're trying to kill him. He finds himself he goes into a cave. God replenishes him. He sends the miracle of the food and the gift and says, get up, eat. He rests some more, get up, eat. You got a long journey ahead of you. 40 days he goes making this trek to where he ends up at a mountain. And he goes, and I love this. Oh my gosh, y'all, I love this story. Okay. So he goes and he gets there and God says, what are you doing here, Elijah? And what does Elijah start doing? He starts playing, God, they killed all these prophets and now they're trying to kill me too. Like, it'd be better if I'm not even alive right now. Like, you can tell the journey was wearing on him. And then here, he steps out and God looks to interact with him. And you see the winds come and the earthquake comes and the fire comes. It says, but God was not in any of those things. And then there was the whisper that reminded him of the power and might of God, that as big as things seem around you, as much as the earth may be feeling like it is quaking around you, everything is out of your control, that those things still pale by comparison to God. It never said that Elijah was moved by any of those things. I think for any of us, we're like, oh gosh, there's a big fire. Oh gosh, there's a big earthquake. Oh God, rocks are crumbling around him. Yet it was at the whisper of God that he could not help but to react. He knew he was in the presence of the Almighty. And I think there are some of you that have been seeing life quake around you, and you're looking to see and hear God through all of it. And maybe it's gotten so loud or so in your face that you feel like you just can't even wrap your mind around what is going on. Yet what happens when God himself so much as whispers to you? When he shows up where you know that you have been in that presence. And I don't know in that moment how to not say that it's all worth it. Whatever battles you've been going through, whatever warfare you've been going through, you're going to get to a place where even when you feel tired, depleted, weary, wired, whatever it may be, you're going to see remarkable things and you're going to encounter God himself. You're going to experience him in a way that generations will have stories to tell and unfold because of what God did in and through your life. We may not be going back and rewriting appendices into the Bible, adding on to it or anything like that. But your story matters. And the glory story that God is telling through your life matters. The story itself, it's not going to be this, well, he woke up and he had a great day and he went to sleep. Oh, what a great story, right? Those stories come through transformation. Transformation is a byproduct of things being challenged. So if you're in the warfare, if you're in the battle, then I pray for you in it, but take courage too, that God is doing a bigger thing in and through you. Y'all, I got so many notes here and that just kind of, okay, that was off the cuff. I don't know. Hopefully that helps somebody. When we look at being a Christian entrepreneur, again, God is not just gifting you to make money and to multiply resources. He's calling you to take territory. He is calling you to take territory. Do you march forward knowing that the victory is already secure and that no matter how big the giants or the monsters or the forces look like they are as you go into that battle, that you know that your God is bigger, and you know that heaven has your back. If God has called you to it and you are stepping faithfully through it, heaven has your back. Write that down. Remind you, put it on repeat. Heaven has your back. And that should give you a boldness and a tenacity. The word says that God is not happy with the one who shrinks back. We are not of those who shrink back, but of those who advance. We take territory. We forcefully advance even. We move forward, not because of ego, not because of pride, not because, oh, look at how great, how strong, how powerful I am. It's like, bro, heaven itself has my back. The king and the creator of all life, the sustainer of all life, the one who speaks and mountains crumble and fall, the one who speaks and all of this comes into being. That's who has my back. So we're going to face off with darkness causing us to question things. It wants to cause us to deny what God has declared to be so. And that's where doubt will often creep in. Discouragement, I'm reading more from my notes. Y'all want to make sure that I cover what I wrote here. Discouragement, distortion, heaviness, fatigue, weariness. These all weigh you down and put a serious drag on your momentum. But God is faithful in all of it. There's a passage that says, where does my help come from? My help comes from the maker of heaven and earth. As I go through and I do this video, I'm really trying to be cautious not to project some of the things that I've been going through on my own journey, but I do have the opportunity to meet and talk with a lot of other Christian entrepreneurs, major kingdom builders. And I feel like there are a lot of times I walk through seasons where I see common themes and threads among us. So when I look at the season that I've been walking through, I'm not sitting here just saying, oh, okay, this is like, life was hard. I had to park at the back of the parking lot and stuff like that. Like, I'm coming on the other side prayerfully. Lord, help me. I am emerging from a very long season that has been very hard. And when I say it has felt like it has been a bombardment, I mean, there were days that I'm just like, what I can't even tell you how many days. It was like, well, not even days, like probably months of like, God, what is even happening here? I remember telling my husband, like a couple months back even, we're sitting there having coffee at a Starbucks. And I'm like, I just feel like something in me in this past season broke in a way that I don't have words for. I felt like I was being picked apart. I felt like I was just being poked and prodded and pulled from every different direction. And that the whole season was incredibly disorienting. I think looking at it in hindsight, hindsight's 2020, is arguably it was probably less of me being broken just for being broken and more about the things that were being broken off of me that would not serve me in the next season. And I say that not as a me thing, but as going back to you, right? Because this is the whole point of doing the video. It's not to tell you all about all the junk that I've been walking through, but to say that my bet is that you've been through your own seasons, especially as a Christian entrepreneur, where you have questioned things. You've been put through challenges. You might have had seasons where you felt like you were being drugged through the freaking mud and you don't understand why. You don't understand in that moment that it's because the call on your life is so freaking amazing and the enemy wants nothing more than to cause you to shut down and back off of what God has promised you and declared to be yours. You don't see in that moment that God is birthing something in you, that he is breaking through things. And so there has to be a level of patience in the process. When we look at the fruits of the Spirit, one of the fruits of the Spirit is long suffering. And there is no shortcut through that part of it. There's no shortcut to learning long suffering. There isn't a softer way to learn it. There isn't a buffer. There isn't arguably God gives us a bit of a buffer. He doesn't subject us to the worst of things because he knows how much we can tolerate. But ultimately, developing that fruit of long suffering means that you're going to go through things that are going to feel like they're going to drag on. But on the other side of it, that fruit of long suffering actually shows the world what true resilience looks like. Like, how many people is he using your life to inspire by virtue of your impeccable resilience, the way that you go through what you've been through, yet you still shine. You still radiate with life and light, and you still go out and love people despite how hard the day or the nights may be for you in that moment. you're still going out, loving God, loving people, and letting that dictate how your days go. Do you know how crazy impressive that is? I can't even begin to say how proud that makes me of you and what you're accomplishing. And I hope that it gives you a little bit more encouragement that if you're going through it, if you're going through a season that feels like it's been a long season of warfare and battle, keep pressing through, know that heaven has your back, and know that you are inspiring more people than you could probably ever imagine. Like, you're not going to know this side of heaven how many people are catching the fire and the wind that they need in their own journey by virtue of how God is using your story to inspire them. All right, let me get back to my notes because there were a lot of things that I had noted here that I wanted to make sure I hit on before we rock out for the day. So looking at that warfare again, God has called you into a beautiful place, a beautiful promised land where he is calling you to take territory as you advance toward it. He is calling you to take territory that's going to be for the building up of his kingdom and the telling of his glory story in your life. And as we move toward that promised land, it's not surprising in the least for the battle to kick up. The enemy does not want to give up ground. And as you get closer, you might be at that place where you're standing there right at the cusp of it, or just starting to step inside of it, just crossing over that threshold, and it turns into an all-out dog fight where you feel like you're being poked, pulled, prodded, ripped apart from every different direction. God is still faithful, okay? Do not let that moment prompt you to give up. I can look back at many a times over my years of training in martial arts where I felt like I had nothing left to give. I'm talking about doing 4, 6, 8-hour trainings, maybe even longer, where people are fallen out from the heat and the exhaustion. They're like laid out on the floor, puking over there. Things are like feeling my body just cramping up and want nothing more than to be done. Thinking, God, like I don't have anything left to give. Yet there's something that happens as you refuse to quit, as you refuse to forfeit, as you refuse to surrender and lay things down. You emerge on the other side of that a different person. And I've had people that are like, I don't see why you would want to ever train in a way that makes you feel that way, like that makes you throw up and cramp up and fall out and all this other stuff. But there is something to be said about what you tap into, what you see come out of yourself. You start to realize a little bit more about you when you push through the hard things that you didn't think you could make it through, and then you stand there victorious on the other side. Some of you are questioning why God has allowed you to experience such battles. Might I challenge you just a little bit that maybe, just maybe, it's because he wants you to know what it's like to stand on the other side, holding the victory over the very things that tried to take you out, stall you out, steal from you, take from you. All of those things, he has secured the victory over it. And he wants you to know what that feels like. He wants you to experience that. So as you're going through it, the question is, what do you do when you feel like you're taking the hits, you're getting pulled, blasted, all of this from every direction? What is your response? What do you turn to? Who do you turn to? Will you fold as you stand just outside of that promised land that God is calling you into? I felt like I hit a place in a season where as I was going through so much, and it was taking a toll on me. I was weary. I was depressed. I was just, God, how much longer is the season going to stretch? And I'm still hearing people that are sharing all these stories. And I'm like, wow, I feel like I started to relate in a very different way to Paul. And I would not compare myself to the Apostle Paul. Like, that man was a straight gangster of the faith. Like, I don't know how crazy, just intense, tenacious, zealous you really have to be so committed to the cause that, like, you get beaten to the end of your life. Dude gets beaten to the end of his life. He's left outside the city in a pile of rocks, left for dead. They think he's done. And he's been beaten and mangled so badly. He didn't get medical care. He didn't go, it wasn't like he went and got a shot of morphine and okay, he can't feel it. No, he got up from that heap of rubble, went right back into the city that had just done that to him. Next day, he's like, look, I ain't got time for y'all. He's shirking it off and he's saying, I I got work to do elsewhere. And he moseys on with his mission. Like, how hardcore do you have to be? Yet here in Romans 8, he says that I consider that our present sufferings are not worth the glory that will be revealed in us. There are things that God is doing in you that, man, it might not be fun going through it in the moment, but the end result of what he brings about through the things that challenge you, press you, crush you, the reward and all of the amazing things that he does with it, like you're going to look back at all that pain and all those nights that you couldn't sleep, that you cried it out, that you sat there stressed out. God, I don't even know what I'm going to do. You're going to look back and you know what? It's all worth it. It's all worth it. Is it fun? No, but it is all worth it. If you feel like you've been going through it, like you have hit that place where you have nothing left to give, my friend, please keep going. You might just be closer to that breakthrough than what you could possibly imagine. And the cool thing is as you stand on the other side of it, you're not only going to know what it's like to be victorious and to see God bring that triumphant moment into your life. You're going to know what it's like to have a deeper intimacy with God himself in a way that too few people ever get to realize here on earth. So take that as a gift. I know the journey of it may not be the funnest, but take it as a gift that God will show himself to be mighty and powerful through what it is that he's doing through you. Number 3, and this is surely one of the hardest parts to have to walk through, is the dismantling. Now, if we're not cautious or not discerning, we will easily put this in that warfare category where we're thinking that all of these things that we're going through, it's just an attack and it's just the enemy that's trying to pull and prod from us. And in that, it will be easy for us to pray against and speak against the very things that God is looking to do to help us achieve a breakthrough that we will not have achieved otherwise, okay? So one of the things that I felt like really, really blessed me was hearing a different perspective on it that I really grabbed onto, and I felt like I just continued to unpack it with understanding that what looks like dismantling to us is often reconfiguration to God. That there are things that are within us that need to be broken off. Again, I remember going through that season where I feel like something had just broken me in ways that I didn't have words for. Yet here, can I not, in hindsight, say that it was more God breaking things off of me that weren't going to serve me in the very places that he was looking to carry me into? There are things that were birthed in the season that I have walked through that would have never even been on my radar. I might have never even thought it a possibility or given it any consideration. It wasn't like an idea that I was already mulling over. No, like there are things that he actively brought to life in those seasons that it looked like nothing but dry bones before me. So can I challenge you, if you're going through what feels like a season where it might feel like it's intense, it's warfare, it's the battles all around you, that maybe, just maybe, God is using it to dismantle the things that would otherwise serve as obstructions or hindrances in the places that he's calling you to. Looking at Isaiah 54:16 and 17, he says, "See, it is I who created the blacksmith that fans the coals into flame and forges a weapon fit for its work. And it is I who created the destroyer to wreak havoc. No weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you." Can I dare say that maybe that season of life that you've been going through that feels like you have been in the absolute crucible has been God forging you as a weapon fit for his work? You know, I have read that passage. I cannot tell you how many times over, and it wasn't until I was writing these notes this morning that I got this mental picture of two swords colliding and one of them breaking in half. Could it be that God has allowed you to go into that crucible of life, and he's even used the blacksmith that's fanning those coals into flames, making it hotter, that he's used all of that to forge you as a weapon fit for its work? That when you come into those seasons where you are under pressure and you're just having that collision with the life and the enemy and all of that, that you don't break under the pressure. You stay sharp. You maintain your edge. You remain a faithful tool wielded for an incredibly good work. Here, several weeks ago, I was reading Romans 8 with my kids, and I hit this point where there was a part of the passage that I swear I've read, I can't tell you how many times over, and just kind of, oh, okay, like a little side note, right? Like we just kind of read over it and get to the other part that really speaks loud to us. But for whatever reason, I read this one part and it stopped me in my tracks because I'm like, it felt like with everything I've been walking through, God gave me that aha moment of like, this is why. This is why. Like there's so much of the stuff that you've been going through. Like this is going to help you better understand it. And so, I mean, it was one of those where the way it dropped, I still don't have all of the words to articulate everything that was unpacked in me in that moment, in that download. I just know that I was to the point that I was choked up. I couldn't even talk anymore. I handed my Bible off to the kids and said, here, you read it, because we were trying to read through, the bulk of Romans 8. I'm like, you guys are going to have to finish it. I can't even read right now. I can't even talk. Romans 8:19 picks up in saying, for the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. For the creation was subjected to frustration, not by its own choice, but by the will of the one who subjected it, in hope that the creation itself will be liberated from its bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and glory of the children of God. So much of what feels like dismantling is actually reconfiguration to God. It's Him subjecting us to frustration. Now, what is frustration? When we look at that, it's the stuff that makes me mad. It's the stuff that irritates me. When we look at frustration, at its core, is it not simply what we would have not chosen for ourselves? Things going in a way that we don't like, that doesn't align with what we think they should be or hope they would be. We go through things that are not by our own will. When we look at this big glory story, this grand story that we would love for God to tell to our lives, if we were handed the pen, we would have not have written frustration into it. We wouldn't. That's just, I don't know about you. I certainly wouldn't have. I wouldn't have been like, you know what? I'm going to get 3 months into my business and then a year into my business. I'm going to get this far and then I'm going to run into a wall. I'm going to get this far and then this is going to go sideways. I'm going to get this far and I'm going to come up against that challenge. Or I'm going to get this at this point in my life where I'm 40 now. I'll be 41 in just a few days. And I'm like, I'm going to start hitting things that like, I couldn't have planned or accounted for. I'm going to go through setbacks. That's going to be real nice. Let me write that one in. And like, none of us would do that. He's not doing it because he's looking to hurt you. He allows you to go through those things that frustrate you, that set you back, that make you feel like you're being pulled apart or dismantled or any of those things, because he's looking to reconfigure your life in hopes of what? That you would be liberated from bondage to decay and brought into the freedom and glory of the children of God. I would dare say that there are plenty of things in your life. There have been plenty of things in my life that might have taken a priority in some way. I would never say like, oh, that's more important than God. I want that more than God. No, but there are a lot of things that we get in pursuit of or that we think we want to be part of our lives, people we want to be in our lives, things we want to take hold of, whatever it might be, that we don't realize that holding on to that is actually keeping us away from the most impeccable life that we could have never imagined for ourselves. Yet God sees it. And so there's this part where we go into seasons where we are subjected to the very things that help us to realign our priorities and take on a different view of life. Like there's a sense of recalibration that happens there. I know, like as I walked through the last intensive season, as I was going through so much of it, and I said I just felt like so much was being broken in me, and all this other. I was going through physical challenges, mental bombardment, depression, anxiety, fear, worry, everything just feeling like it was just choking the life out of me. Didn't realize it was because there were a lot of other things, thyroid, you name it. I don't want to get too much in the personal, but here, going through all of that, going through the financial setbacks and things, taxing me, this, that, and the other. When I look back at the last intensive season that I walked through, I can look at so much of it that just had me feeling not just overwhelmed, but disoriented, right? Like I was just like, what is even going on? Like I felt totally knocked off kilter. Yet I can also see where God used it as a time to help recalibrate me to where I would see things in a different way. There have been things that have come out of that season that were birthed that were not even on my radar at the time that I was entering into that season, and things were just getting so intense and kicked up. Again, God doesn't just want to see you blessed. He wants to see you free and brought into the glory of the children of God. And here's what's also cool about that. When you look at this passage, it talks about how creation is eagerly awaiting the children of God being revealed. I read that part and I'm like, man, that creation, like people around you, all of creation itself is waiting for you to realize who you've actually been made to be, who you've actually been called to be. All of creation is waiting for you to see it. They can't wait for you to take hold of it. So as you're going through the seasons where you're being challenged, where things feel like they're kicked up around you, where again, you feel like you're coming up against the doubt, you feel like you're facing off with the warfare, you feel like you're being dismantled, understand that God has predestined you. And that is a gift. God has predestined you. He has called you, he has justified you, and he has glorified you, right? That is scriptural. Go back to Romans 8, read it. If you feel like you've walked through a season where it looks like you're being dismantled, can I encourage you that our present sufferings are not worth comparing to the glory that will be revealed in us? What glory is he looking to reveal through you? As I say all of this, again, it's not to scare you away from being a kingdom-driven entrepreneur, from being in business, taking it, running with it all out. It's more that I want you to come into it aware and not be caught off guard, not be surprised, not fall into the enemy's lies that there's something wrong with you, or you don't get it, or that it's not going to work out, and all the other bullcrap junk that he's going to try to tell you along the way to cause you to forfeit and back off of the very things that God has called you to. I believe that God is calling you to take territory today. I believe that he is calling you to take the land, that he has a beautiful land of inheritance that he cannot wait for you to move into. And I know that the journey can feel long. I know it can feel hard, but baby, I am praying for you. I am praying that you realize who it is that God is for and through you, like that you really see him. I think we can get in our heads that it's like, oh no, I know he's God, he's big. No, like pray that you know the height, the depth, the width, the breadth, all of this, the extent of the love that he has for you, that there is none of that stuff that you've been walking through or that you will ever come into that will be able to separate you from the love of God, that will be able to take from you what he has destined to be yours, or change who it is that he has declared you to be. So as you go through the seasons, as you step into that business, I do pray you're blessed. I pray he rocks your socks off with it, that you see doors open, exponential increase, things that you could have never asked, hoped, or imagined for, where he just blows your mind and rocks your ever-loving world with it. I pray also that as you go through it, you would be courageous and not lose heart in the long seasons as he works to get you there, because I'm telling you, the glory story that he is unfolding in your life is truly, truly remarkable, and it's going to bless generations to come. So if this has spoken to you in any way, then by all means, drop a comment below. I'm curious to hear more about your journey and what it is that you've been walking through, maybe some things that God has revealed in you or to you through the journey that you've been walking through. And then also make sure you don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you can follow along for building a brand and life you genuinely love. Appreciate you guys so much. Take care.